This video is for the Big Bang Theory fan page that I recently opened up and essentially created for all Big Bang Theory fans. I have it via Facebook. But do note, I only allow those who are true, logical, and long-standing Big Bang Theory fans, because I've never stopped being a fan of Happy Days, I've never stopped being a fan of Mork and Mindy and many other things. So therefore, I'm going to show the same aspect of staying a fan, a strong fan, and a loyal fan to Big Bang Theory. There is a question that I know that every fan has, the one that's been watching each sitcom, especially Big Bang Theory, as well as say the Friends episodes. Although there was supposed to be a reunion show for the Friends, but obviously that went downhill because of course the one of the actresses, being of course Courtney Cox, is refusing to go back into the character of Monica Geller, for her own little reasons anyway. But I know many Big Bang Theory fans besides myself might even wonder eventually when will there be a reunion show, and when would that be? Of course, there was a reunion. There was a kind of a reunion show in the sense of the Roseanne, of course, but ABC, being the liberal kiss asses that they are, screwed that up big time. Not right when they were still in the mid beginning of the whole thing. But nonetheless, the Big Bang Theory, I know I've mentioned many times in one video that I would essentially date the ones that play the one that played, of course, Emily, the one that played Bernadette Rostenkowski, and of course, I can tell you that and I believe I said somewhere along the lines that I wouldn't mind, I wouldn't separate the fact of dating a person like Penny and even Amy Fair Fowler, a person like that. And the one thing though I will say that the Big Bang Theory has its own quirks, just like any other sitcom does, essentially. The one thing, though, is that they didn't really put too much in with Amy Fair Fowler like they did Sheldon, of course, Jim Parsons' character, and like they did Leonard, the very same actor that played David on Roseanne. And like they did with Howard, um, Wolowitz, and Raj Koothrappali. But of course, they didn't really do that much with Barry Kripke. Nor did they do that much in the background of even Sheldon's assistant, female assistant, which obviously had the hornball aspects for Leonard. Now, the one that played the female assistant of Sheldon Cooper, I'd say I would date her too, though. Though the one thing though is that I find myself to be like Leonard Nimoy in the sense that I'm full of logic. You will see many of which what I'm referring to in one of my CRPHA videos, as well as if I still have an NCHA video on there as well. Um, and you will see the logic as well in many of my other videos outside of CRPHA. And I'm also like Commander Data in the sense that of Star Trek: The Next Generation, of course. In the sense that I remember everything that I'm exposed to, just like the character of Brett Spiner's character, Lieutenant Commander Data, showed time and time again. And you know, the one thing though too, when it comes to the relationships between the two, between Howard Wolowitz and and uh, and Bernadette, and the relationships between Penny and Leonard Hofstadter. As Penny and Leonard were kind of going back and forth, as the Ross and Rachel situation on Friends, as I mentioned on the first video, in a sense, I think that's what Howard did with Bernadette. Though, on one aspect, I can understand why he wasn't really too sure if he should still continuously see, and be that, of course, date and even associate with Bernadette, just because she had I guess what some people would call misgivings of the interactions with children. But see, that's the one thing that he should have had Penny talk with Bernadette before they met each other. Aside from the fact that Penny has dealt with Howard Wolowitz being on his continuous hornball aspects, right? The one thing is that instead of him being like kind of dumbfounded or shocked or what have you else, right? And that's one thing that Penny could have easily talked to her about. That way, he would have been prepared for such an occurrence. But he didn't. So therefore, he has no one to blame but himself on that one. And he cannot blame Bernadette for it either. Although I know many guys try to, but that's a bad move. But you know, the one thing though too is Bernadette may have had misgivings, which I understand, which basically everybody's not sure exactly where they'll be when it comes to having children of their own. They may have misgivings even of having children of their own due to their general interactions with children outside of their own biological circle, if you will. But there are many couples, though, as we all know by now, that do adopt, and it doesn't, and therefore, with the child's not knowing, with the child not knowing essentially at first, from like a very young age, for example, whether or not if they are biologically connected or not. And those that adopt teenage children, I mean, it's already given. It's already shown that there's no biological connection. There might be a parental base to it and caring and loving and whatnot, which is still a positive, right? But you know, I will say this. The concept of where the one that had the aspect of forcing yourself to be in particular certain interaction situations, according to the storyline, of course, on the Big Bang Theory, that Raj dated, and the one that played Emily, and the one that played the blonde chick bartender that Raj was about to date at some point. But I don't know if I can remember if he actually dated her or not, really. Um, but the one thing, though, is that each one of those three women judged Raj Koothrappali wrongfully. Thereby, they knew that he was kind of kooky in some respect. Everybody has their own level and basic kookiness, essentially. Um, but of course, some kind of seem to be a little bit more over zealous than many may expect, even at first. But the one thing is that I don't care if you're a woman, I don't care if you're male, I don't care if you're transgender. You don't do that. And Raj didn't judge them. He dealt with the way that they were, the way they felt, what they felt. He accepted them for who they were and how they were. But obviously, it didn't seem like they were willing logically to accept Raj Koothrappali for who and how he was. I do remember, though, also, it wasn't easy for the character to come out of a metaphysical, psychological state, which you don't really need medication for. You can take it, but you don't necessarily need it. And that was where in the beginning, starting from the beginning of the season, the very beginning season, be that of course the very first part of the season, which would be I guess the introduction of the characters, if you want to call it that. That Raj had the psychological complexity of not able to be so openly conversational um, around women, but yet he was able to do that with his sister and as well as his mother. Aside from the fact that they were biological, according to storyline again. Um, and yet, at the same time, though, too, is that Raj Koothrappali had some other aspects to work out, but he didn't really give himself time to do it. He could have easily sorted those things out before dating any of the three women. I'm not saying that people like Leonard or Sheldon or any other characters would be able to help him, even directly or as well as indirectly, even in the logical standpoints. But I'd say if they had a person like myself, I'd be able to help. Easy, no question. And it's part of the reason is because I know psychology. I'm not going to say I'm an Einstein about it, or even on the aspect of psychology, but I have a better understanding about it than most people realize. Thereby, I've helped many people with using that type of knowledge. Um, And I'd say with that, Raj Koothrappali could have easily, possibly in a gradual pace, even as he got to the points of being comfortable with the aspect of dating those three women, when he did and as he did, he would have been able to better associate things to where at least one of them, or even if two of them decided to be trying to associate with him to the point to where he'd still be able to date both of them, but then of course he would have to choose, okay, which one would he want to be with. If I was in that case, I would choose. I already know who I would choose between the one that had to force herself into certain interactions, and Emily, and I know, and also between Emily and the one bartender. I already know who I'd choose if I was in Raj's situation, Raj Koothrappali's situation from the Big Bang Theory. Um, but as I said with Leonard, though, is that he didn't care. He didn't care. He didn't care if Penny chose to be with him or not. He just dealt with it, and he knew that if she wanted to be with him, cool. If she didn't want to be with him, that's all. That's okay too. Basic fact is that he had faith and trust and confidence within himself and belief within himself that he would eventually find somebody. Although at times you could not really see that sort of thing if it was long standing or not at times. Um, but with Sheldon on that aspect, on the dating aspect, he was perfectly secure with the fact of being pretty much a loner. And the way he stipulated things and stated things, I mean, it was perfect, more than perfectly obvious. Then, right when they wrote in Mayim Bialik's character as Amy Fair Fowler, that things kind of gradually changed, but I had many different thoughts about this. This one part of it is that he put a contract based upon the relationship that he had with Amy Fairchild. Not all men do this. Not all men do this, but I'm thinking maybe men should do that. I mean, aside from the fact of the feminist movement of today, which is illogical, and the Me Too movement, which is illogical, I think that would be they would base things out a lot easier and a lot more substantial. But I'm not going to say not all guys would agree with it or even go with it. There might be some guys that would go with it. I'm not gonna. I'm not. I'm not gonna say for sure, not because each person's different. Mm, they may not go with it even at first either, but if they thought about it, then there's a good possibility. But who's to say? Um, with Sheldon's female assistant, um, not really much was said or even described about her. She was just more of a villain, it seems like, which was not really logical because she had more scenes than Barry Kripke, the one that played the Barry Kripke's character. A lot more scenes than she had. The one that played Sheldon's assistant had a lot more scenes than the other villains that associated with Sheldon. And yet there was still not really that much put into the character, or even about the character. Um, and I think there should have been. kind of too late for it to be added in now, you know. But I think it would have been a lot more logical, even as the introduction of the character showed up, and even from the first interaction between her and Sheldon, even between her and Leonard. If you disagree, that's fine. If you agree, cool. Um, the interaction between Amy Farrah Fowler and Sheldon Cooper, that that had something offset, but yet as time went on, they did the Ross and Rachel thing at some point. But of course, it was instigated by Amy Farrah Fowler, Mayim Bialik's character. Thereby, she addressed it and announced it in the most illogical way. Thereby, Sheldon was not prepared for it, although I think in some respect that he wasn't really prepared for relationships in general. Even when it comes to the female interaction of things, aside from his mother and aside from his sister, his Sheldon's sister. The one other thing though too is the only shall we say relation to another character that they had on there from Roseanne was the one that played Darlene from Roseanne as a female, one of the female scientists as well. Of course, she kept on dogging Sheldon like left and right, which I understand. It was sort of a differential aspect of it, even though with the fact that Sheldon was too 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 sure of himself and too cocky when it came to especially thinking that he's better than the the female scientist again that from of the act that the actors from Roseanne played Darlene from Roseanne on anyway. Of course, the one that the actor that played Leonard Hofstadter had already played parts with her on Roseanne. Um, Thereby, he was familiar with her type of acting style, um, which is always a good thing. And although the plot might not want that within the different surrounding and different plot lines of the sitcom, I was to say it depends on the sitcom, though, right? Um, I'd say if there was to be something between the two on The Big Bang Theory, like there was between the two on Roseanne, then it would have been shown way more than just the occasional interaction. Aside from playing violins together, and aside from working in the same university, different labs and whatnot, but you know, it would have been even further than that. Like there was a bit further with Penny and Leonard. That would have been a good competition between the two. Although there was a moderate short competition between Priya um, Raj Kuthapali's sister, and Penny, of course. Although Penny really wasn't too worried about it, which I could see that I was able to see that without question. What's your thought? And do note, if you are a true Big Bang Theory fan, I have a fan page via Facebook. But of course, you must. I asked that to start with. You must be in the U.S. and a true, long-standing Big Bang Theory fan. Mm. Um, the one other thing though too, if I could easily add, is that Maya Bialik does not see herself currently doing anything else in the sense of sitcoms. Although um, she has not said exactly in her YouTube videos if she's gonna go out for any other parts of possible new sitcoms, even outside her agent's requirements, or what he or she may think of being, of course, her agent being a he or a she, whichever the case. But I'd say the willingness of wanting to make money in that particular field, just like Joey, like Matt LeBlanc's character did on Friends, of Joey Trivianium did on Friends. And he kept on going. He kept on keeping an eye and ear out for various parts that he could easily go into and try out for and whatnot. Aside from what his agent may have wanted him to do, I think that Maya Biala could do the same thing. And I think also the one that played Leonard Hofstadter could do the same thing. The one that played Bernadette Rustinkowski could do the same thing. Pretty much every character that I know, even outside the Big Bang Theory, could do the same thing if they really truly want to, or if they're happy with what they've made already and are able to make it without question, without having to work even outside the base of acting. Then I'd say that's a good thing. The one other thing though too, I have yet to hear from one of the or if not all of the or a certain number of, especially of the Big Bang Theory cast members. I'm not going to say that would be a way to get people into the fan page or nothing, but which I wouldn't be using them for that because that's not logical to do that. I'd be able to get to know them as a person outside the character base, and that's one of many positive reasons to do what I've been doing, especially when it comes to the base of what I do in the sense of advocating, as well as what I do even outside of advocating. But again, though, too, is that I would, again, though, too, outside the character base, I would date the assistant, the female assistant of Sheldon's, the one that played Sheldon's female assistant, and I would date uh, Penny, and I would date the actress of Penny that played Penny as well, and the actress that played Bernadette, and the actress that played Emily, as well as the actress that played. Yeah, I would date, or at least start to get to know first off, as well. um, um, Mayim Bialik. I know that Mayim Bialik is currently single. She might be dating outright, but it's not always good to inform people of your per- personal attributes, especially when it comes to dating, if you're seeing anybody or not, or if you're single, alone, and whatnot. If you're in what type of situations you're going through, even medically. Uh, you could, however, as Mayim Bialik did mention on one of her videos when it came to a particular I guess test or scan of sorts of I guess what do you call pap smear or something effective in the sense of breast cancer. She could do it a little differently because she involved people into her own personal aspects of her own life, which basically is not always a good thing, especially being a Hollywood star like she is from the TV series sitcom Blossom and The Big Bang Theory. Although, like I said, she could have done it differently, but also she mentioned that she mentioned on one of her videos something to the effect of she's worried about she can feels more than sorry essentially that not very many women can afford it, especially with their basic insurance. There is ways to counteract that though. Doesn't mean the base of legislation 100% right off the bat. What Alyssa Milano's doing when it comes to the No Sex Act or movement, that's not really a positive way because as I mentioned on one of my CRPHA videos, is that for Alyssa Milano to really look back and re-research things because she might have missed a few things. And also with what she found out while doing her research, she might have missed a few things. So I just suggested nicely and politely for her to look back on see if she missed anything. Because even by word of mouth, by another person, even in the political, non-political attributes of positions or offices or what have you else, and not very many things are really put in full aspects of explanation and why this is and how this is and what have you else. I think Mayim Bialik could do the same thing when it comes to the aspects of what she was referring to when it comes to the breast cancer situation for all women. Um, and I think also Penny, the one that played Penny, and also the one that played um, Emily, and the one that played Bernadette can go in that with Mayim Bialik, because basically it wouldn't really just go affect be something that would easily affect them as well, aside from the fact of their gender. But it would also help and benefit other women outside the acting field. And I can tell you, Mayim Bialik, that you won't get a full, true support from the liberals. They'll kind of play with it a little bit and try to use that against the Republicans. You don't want that because if you have it that way, if it's done that way, then you're not going to get a full support even on that aspect. So I'd say put it through the Republican Party, and you'll get a full support. Because if you also tell them that I, being a humanitarian, a conservative Republican, people's humanitarian advocate, you might get some backing because they probably saw my videos. But of course, if you have any questions, also Mayim, you're more than welcome to ask me, and we can also talk as well. And of course, the one that played Leonard and the one that played Howard, as well as Sheldon, Raj, and the women I mentioned, they can also talk to me. But I have yet to hear from them. I can say without a doubt I met James Doohan in person twice. One while he was directly on stage, of course, which was the second time. The first one was awesome. It was a close encounter. It was awesome. I was able to shake his hand and everything else. Awesome. I'll never forget that, though. I would have liked to meet Leonard Nimoy, but I never got the chance to. Although Will Shatner, or Bill Shatner, however he wants to be referred as, that'd be cool to meet him because he played a really good Captain Kirk. And I mean, that's the only thing he's mostly known for besides T.J. Hooker. And besides Danny Crane from some lawyer program I remember, although I can't remember the name of it offhand. And I know he did Priceline commercials, but which that kind of dumbed it down a bit. And I do know that even during Star Trek, the original series, that Will Shatner had some financial difficulty still. But even after it was canceled, then he went back into the financial difficulties again. That's according to his biography that's being told and shown on YouTube. The other one would be Sulu. Chekhov, I'd be able to meet and talk with him too, although it wasn't really too logical for him to go into the aspect of Babylon 5. To many true, and I'm not going to say I'm the only true Star Trek fan, but to many true Star Trek fans, that's a betrayal to Star Trek when an actor goes over into the aspect of another space exploration type series like Babylon 5, for example, like Walter Koenig did. Aside from making extra money, he could have done something outside the aspect of space exploration after Star Trek, or even in. I'd say that. See who else? Patrick Stewart. He'd be awesome to talk with. Many of the Next Generation cast members too. They'd be awesome to talk with, as well as the Voyager cast and the DS9 cast, as well as the Scott Bakula, and who played Captain Jonathan Archer. I know him from Quantum Leap. I remember watching Quantum Leap when I was still going in elementary to high school, I believe. And he was good on that, and I'm surprised that they chose him to play the part of Captain Jonathan Archer. Although they didn't really go too far as they did with the Next Generation, as they did with the other series outside of the original. It's almost like they've tried to recreate the original from Roddenberry's original, which was the NCC 1701 Constitution class Starship Enterprise, to the NX-01, which was generally a test exploration starship. Although I do remember, though, is that they on the original they snuck in the original Romulan ship, even though they tried to use the Klingon battle cruisers in the original series as a replacement Romulan ship when they tried to surround the Constitution class Starship Enterprise in the original series. And part of the reason why of that is because the creator of the original Romulan ship, the first made one, right? They either let him go for some odd reason, or he just up and left for some reason, and thereby he took the design with him. But who's to say, really, in that one either? Only Roddenberry knows that one, and we are not able to find out what happened there. Although, if Roddenberry's son knows the reason, then he'd be able to say it. One other aspect is that, as I said in my first Big Bang Theory video, it is because of Star Trek of why I went full on watching the Big Bang Theory. It is because of Star Trek of why I'm full 100% behind Roddenberry, because I understood what he was, and it's not only the fact that I understood what he was trying to show in his own vision, in his own way, and the way he was able to, essentially. Even in the beginning. I think it was much further than that, though. And although with the base of string theory that Jim Parsons' character of Sheldon went into, string theory didn't really fascinate me in the sense of science, though, because string theory it may have some sort of metaphysical, molecular type of attribute, or whatnot, or spatial attribute, if you want to call it, in the universe. But I think there has to be something more than a constant aspect of the universe than just plain old string theory, aside from what Leonard Hofstadter did with his experiments, although he didn't really show any conclusiveness to his experiments on the series of Big Bang Theory. Although the only one that did moderately was Howard Wolowitz, although he only showed the fact that he was able to introduce the possible and introduction of the universe type of Roto-Rooter. Because of course, with the space toilet that he had in the one of the series, is that you might as well get Roto-Rooter to be in the universe at some point, because eventually you'll need it, or it'll go right in your face with no gravity. If it doesn't decide to go down for any given reason, like what we have to deal with on this planet. You know, how it like overflows, instead of it overflowing, it go right in your face or right on the ceiling. Aside from going everywhere else, which is very disgusting, I might add. They did, however, go a little bit more into with Raj's aspect of when it came to astronomy and astronomy all in one, essentially. when it came to the stars and the whole base of the universe. And as I mentioned, uh, the the solar flare, for example, if there was a solar blocking the signal variations of, say, cell phones or what have you, due to the aspect of it, or the solar flares being blocked by, blocking the satellite aspects when it comes to the mobile phone um, connections and whatnot and operations, among other things. But I'd say the one that really had it was the two being Leonard and Raj and Howard. And I think with the fact that Penny wanted to show that she had at least even a moderate understanding and interest in what Leonard was doing with his experiments, because I know at first she wasn't really too clear on that at first. That showed that she had an interest in him. Thereby by showing that she had an interest in what he was doing as a general career, that showed that some interest, which basically you don't see much from women anymore. Although Sheldon really didn't show much interest in what she was doing later on, because if you remember that Leonard did help her out in the sense of getting her a brand new car, even after Penny's Volkswagen Rabbit essentially crapped out on her eventually. Again, according to storyline. And thereby, he did a nice gesture. He didn't have to, but he did. All he could have done was say, "Hey, here's the cash. Go get a car, or I'll come with you. We'll get a car." But the one positive thing was that he surprised her with a car. It may not have been her choice, but at least it got her to point A to point B, or from point A to point B and back, right? And among the C&Ds and what have you. But that really didn't show any interest in what she was doing in the beginning. Of course, he didn't really show that much of an interest in what she was doing, that even after Bernadette helped her get into that particular field after going through classes. But yet, at the same time, though, too, is that I know that the character of Leonard Hofstadter didn't expect her to show that she had an interest in what he was doing. He didn't have put that as a requirement. Much like Sheldon put a requirement on by going by various or various to numbers of contractual agreements. Thereby, the larger number of agreements that Amy Farrah agreed with, the more chances that she'd be with him. In the friendship at first, what he thought, but she looked at it differently. Granted, yes. But yet, eventually, she went into a moderate relationship, and then eventually went to a full base of relationship, and then it went up to the points of the marriage. And somewhere in between, something happened there as well. I can see that. Although the one thing though too, Howard Wolowitz did not go fully behind on what he wanted. He allowed things to be decided um, by Bernadette, essentially, when it came to the child thing, which basically is not logical because they could have worked. They could work it to where she'd be able to work at home and take care of the child, but at the same time, no. When when Howard had the day a certain number of days off, then she'd be able to go out on the field to work outside the home. Because I know in those type of fields you're able to do that. You may not want to, but there's ways to do it. And besides, I'd say in a more of a intellectual, psychological, interaction aspects of things that infants want more of a reaction with the mother, but in equal level of with the father. Granted, yes, but the mother is the nurturer, right? But there are many women out there still that have decided to go separate from the father, but where the father still has to pay child support, but only has moderate to minimal, if not completely zero, interactions with the child. And that is mostly with the ones that would not place any harm on the mother and the child at all, or children. And it's due to the feminist movement of today, unfortunately, and the Me Too movement as well, which is not logical. And you wonder why there are many children out there that are being more than rambunctious and acting out in more ways than one. It is said by many women, though, that they can be just much of a father as much as the father can be. No. A mother can only play one part. The mother. The nurturer. That's it. You can't put yourself into two spots. Believe me, I know. I've dealt with it for many years. It's not easy. It's not as simple as many women think or may even assume that it is. Like if the child would not expect a whole lot. When children do expect more, a lot more than women are able to do by themselves. Even with their own, even if they got their family members on the mother's side to help out, and only they can do so much too. So that's why children need both the mother as well as the father. Thereby, if you want to have a child if you want to have a child brought into the world, you need to stay with the father. But of course, if he beats you and everything, right? If he does everything illogical and illegal and everything to you, then yeah, separate him from him. But you have to wait a number of years till you're actually able to find that out if he's the type of person to do that. Because just because you like him and then essentially decide to have a child with him, then you find out right after even after you have a child or children with him, he starts out to be a major fucking, you know, and that's not a positive way to find out things. That's the truth. It would be the same for men. For men, if you find that she's a cheating little stupid, you know what, then it's best not to have a child or children with her. If she lies to you and backstabs you and cheats on you and expects you to forgive her, she's not the one for you. Point point proven. It's been proven many times, more than one time. Because the basic fact is, if a woman doesn't truly, if at all, and this is very rare, this happens where a woman forgives the husband or boyfriend for cheating on her. Practically, it goes to the point of practically nil nowadays. And yet, when the woman cheats on the guy, she comes right back and says, "I'm sorry I cheated on you. Will you please forgive me?" And thereby, when even if the person, if even if the guy did forgive her, that basically, in many women's minds, I'm not saying all, but many, in many women's minds, it gives them an open door to keep doing it. But this time, not even make sure the guy doesn't even know about it. And that's not the way to be. Thereby, if she does that, then guess what, dude? Just leave her ass. No question. Even if she tries to call you and, why didn't you forgive me? Why didn't you forgive me? Don't even answer the phone, man. Don't even answer her emails. Don't even answer her text messages on that aspect. The one thing though too is, I know one question I've gotten, would I allow my children to become into the world of science? Yes, I would, as long as they're not the test um, dummies, if you will. Because putting a person through various numbers of tests is not very logical. If you want to put, and of course I'm not going to say it's logical to put animals through tests either. But there's ways to do it with knowing the cause and effects without using an actual guinea pig, if you will. Be that, of course, the human being the guinea pig. You don't need that. Pretty much like Sheldon used Leonard as a guinea pig when it came to, or was it the Snoopy slushy thing, and where Sheldon supposedly put crushed moths inside the thing, which was very disgusting. And he called it for science. That's not really for science. That just shows how deranged you are, how uncaring and unfeeling you are. You may mean all innocent well and all that, but you don't do that to a human being by having it to where it tastes like, what was it, like the word mothy, or what they mentioned on the Big Bang Theory. You don't want to do that, because that, depending on the person, that can make a person very ill, and that may not be your intent. But each person is different, as we all know. Thereby, you don't know. You can't really just assume that you would know the cause and effects, or even if there was, can be a negative effect. I see that this thing is going a little long, but if you guys want to join the Big Bang Theory fan page, it's on Facebook, the one I created, anyways, because I am a fan myself of the Big Bang Theory. And if there's any of the cast members, the ones that I mentioned to start with, want to talk with me, I am more than welcome it. But they actually have to be the actual cast members that I mentioned, along with Emily, the one that played Emily, and the one that played Sheldon's assistant, and many others that I mentioned on the night. This is your well trusted CRPHA advocate, and also head Big Bang Theory fan page of Facebook that I know of. It is the only fan page in existence that I know anyway. If you want to join, just let me know. But also, please start. Let's start with the US of A first, and you must be truthfully in the U.S. I will not deal with any fakers and phonies. Have a good day.